Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial for my powerful, bombastic, somewhat regal arrangement of the hymn Immortal Invisible. In this tutorial, I'm going to go over some potential trouble spots and give you some insight into my thinking as the arranger. This arrangement is difficult, I'm not going to lie, but I will also say it is a ton of fun to play. And I think that it's especially fun to play if you know that in my mind as an arranger, I was envisioning an orchestra, as if this were an orchestration for a full orchestra being performed at a regal ceremony for a king or a queen. So I definitely had in mind the different colors of an orchestra, and definitely had in mind a desire to provide a lot of contrast and play with all those different colors. So if you know that going into it as the pianist, I think it can make it more fun because you can kind of own all those different energy levels and those different colors and different ways of playing. So right from the beginning, we start off with one of those colors, which is a little bit warmer, softer, subdued. Maybe think of the strings as opening this arrangement. Kind of a sappy sort of sound. Then we get to... That's like brass. All of a sudden the brass come in super strong. The king or the queen are marching out to greet their subjects, whatever. So right at the beginning, I only give you the instruction with pedal. So I leave a lot of freedom to you as the pianist. This is a more advanced arrangement. I think you're gonna know how to use your piano. Or your pedal. You're gonna have an intuition for that. But I will just say that I would suggest, because intuitively you're going to want to hold that pedal through to the next measure so that the sound doesn't break. But I'm actually going to suggest that you lift the pedal before you hit that first octave so that the octave stands out. Pedal off. Like that. And I think it'll make the octaves just stand out, pop more, feel more. You'll feel the audience will feel that contrast more. When you get to measure 7, then we go back down in dynamics to another color. And even though there's a lot of inherent energy in this arrangement and there's a fast tempo, don't let your dynamics get away with you. It's hard to play soft and fast, and it's easy to play loud and fast. But you don't want this arrangement to just be this wall of forte. You want it to reflect all those different colors. And so just be careful you don't play too loudly there. And then it's all pretty self-explanatory. We start doing this modulation thing here at measure 22, and going on for a little ways. I intentionally overrode the default settings in my notation software to change the spelling of these notes. If I remember correctly, it was putting in a lot of flats, and you started getting a lot of double flats and F flats and things like that. And maybe it's, I don't know, the more experienced pianists among us, ones more experienced than me, might be thrown off by this. I tend to, when I start seeing a lot of accidentals, want to get into chord mode to help me read it. What are the chords I'm playing here? That helps me know where, at least the starting point for where my hands need to be. So I tried to spell these accidentals, these notes, in a way that's easier to read. So you just have an E and then F sharp over E that repeats. At measure 26, you have a D flat and then an E flat over D flat. And that repeats, and then you get to a B minor, and then an A flat over B flat. I'm sorry, B flat minor, and then an A flat over B flat. So you get this kind of sound. Like that. And it's tempting because of that walk up to think that there's another climax coming. We're getting to a big moment. But it's really more like, maybe if you want to use the image of a mountain climber who's climbing up a mountain, but then just sort of steps off the top and floats among the clouds. That's kind of where this is going. So don't just be careful not to increase your dynamics too much there. You're rising in a way, but you're rising into ethereal kind of sound. So just be careful there. When you do get to the ethereal spot at measure 30, I have a marking here to hold your pedal throughout the section. And I have the little release pedal mark at the bottom of the page. I quite literally mean to hold your piano or hold your pedal for all those measures without ever letting it up. That's how I play it. You may find, given your piano, your room, or your own just preference, that you don't want to do that, and that's totally fine. You're the pianist. It's up to you. But I've played this arrangement now on a couple different pianos, and I do like the sound of the pedal being held without ever lifting. And even at measure 38, when you start playing a little bit lower register, it gets a little muddy for a second there, and I'm okay with that. I like that washy sound. That's kind of what I had in mind. You know, it's a big contrast to this brassy. Then we get into, like, you know, this washy. But it's up to you. You're the pianist. Just know that it's not a typo. All right, then top of page 4, you go back to pedaling as normal, and it's self-explanatory. And then we start getting into what is like the hard part of the song, the big climax. And my suggestion, my suggestion is just to take it slowly. That's how if you're struggling with it, that's how I learned it. I just set my metronome super slow at a tempo that I could play it without mistakes, and then I just slowly, incrementally raised the tempo until I had it up to speed. And I'm trying to think here. I'm going to get into the weeds here a little bit. So if I'm covering things that you're not interested in or you don't need help with, then feel free to fast forward this or just end the tutorial now. But maybe I'll address some questions that some of you may have. So you've got a rolling tremolo here at measure 51 on a C sharp. And because I don't want to knock my camera over, I'm not going to play the right octave, but I'll demonstrate how I interpret the way that I notated it. So when you land on the beat with the tremolo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it literally rolls for what would that be, 6 beats, 6/8 notes, and then you just hit at the downbeat of the next measure. You just hit it, hold it while you play those octaves with your right hand. And then the same thing goes for down here at measure 54. Dum 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 bum bum dum 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 bum. Be careful that those tremoloing left hand octaves don't overpower the melody, the verse 4 melody that enters here at measure 55. So let me try to demonstrate that. You've got accents there, so then you hit this downbeat so really hard, but then when you get to the tremolos, just keep them in the back. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm just thinking I want a really low rumble so that the melody here isn't exposed like it's up here. There's a contrast between the two. So you're just going, and then I have an accented octave. That's when you can really pound it. And then you're off to the races. Feel free, I had changed the tempo here, powerful, grandiose. Feel free to slow it down. That's a little hack that us pianists have, is sometimes at the most difficult part of an arrangement, the tempo naturally slows down. So feel free to slow that down as slow as you want, as slow as you need to be able to perform it well and make yourself feel comfortable. You have the freedom to do that. I give a metronome marking there. That's just a suggestion, a ballpark. Don't take that literally. All right. The other thing I wanted to point out is here at measure 62 and on measure 64, you have these scalar runs. And in all honesty, there is no easy way to play these. I put a finger number in there, which is how I tried to play it, but it really is not easy. Because it's not easy to get into it and it's not easy to get out of it. Just where it sits. So you've got your ring finger there, and it wants to hit that A flat when you go up to the B flat. And then again, it's even harder the second time. I'll do it a little bit lower so you can see better. If you play this D with your fourth finger, then you can get your thumb up there. And that is a lot of movement for a really fast-paced spot. It's just really hard to do. It's even harder to do sideways. So I need to look back at the video demo that I made. I think I actually lift my hand up. I just give up trying to play it legato, and I just lift my hand up. I mean, I don't raise it that high, but it's hard. It's little moments like that make this definitely an advanced arrangement. If it's just impossible to play that, you can, like particularly at that spot there at measure 64, you can just take the C out of the chord like that, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility in that fourth finger to get to the D. Or you can just take the scale out altogether. You can go and then maybe just play the last two 16th notes. So like that. That's a solution. Just be creative. My suggestion as having once been a piano teacher is feel the freedom to alter the arrangement in a way that makes it more playable for you and makes you more confident in the performance of it. But do that rather than try to play it and not do it well. It's better to simplify, play well, than to try to play as written and not do it well. So even as the one who wrote all of this, I would say feel free to change it if that's going to make you play it better. That's totally okay. So then we get to measure 68, ad lib. Feel free to let the pedal, again, just hold the pedal down. Feel free to hold the pedal down for whole measures at a time, maybe even a little more. Feel it out. Let that sound. I mean, there's a lot of dissonance in here, so when you get to, I'll change the octaves. When you get to measure 70, you get this. So it's like this growing, in my mind, I'm picturing something that's like bubbling up out of this swamp. And eventually it's bubbling out and it's covered with mud as it rises out of the muddy waters. But as it rises further and further and further up into the sky, all of that mud washes away, and we end up with something very bright and clean and shiny, like the sun shining in the sky, like that. So there's supposed to be a lot of dissonance there. Let the pedal just like create this wash of sound until you land on measure 71. Then it just comes out bright. And the ad lib means go at your own pace. I think there's several different ways that you could play this that would all suit what I had in mind. You could start off super slow. You could start off like I did, which was kind of at tempo, and then try to get it a little bit faster. we could, do what feels right for you. That ad lib means turn the metronome off and play it how it feels right to you, all the way up to the end. You might even find that you want to hold that last chord before this final octave is even longer than the 4 beats, 4/8 notes that I have there. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. I think that's about it. Anything else, things like fingering, I did not include that in here because I thought if you're an advanced pianist, you know your way around fingering, or you have the discipline already to put fingering in where you need to. So I hope that has been helpful to you, and I will see you in the next tutorial.